The ship shook violently as Captain Maria Santos gripped her command chair. Warning lights flashed across every screen in the control room. The experimental faster-than-light drive was doing something it was not supposed to do, something very wrong. Shut it down, she shouted over the horrible grinding noise that filled the ship. I can't, Dr. Raymond Park screamed back from the engineering station. His hands moved frantically across the controls. The quantum field is collapsing, but it won't stop pulling us forward. The 200 people aboard the Odyssey's Gambit held their breath. This was supposed to be humanity's greatest achievement. The first ship to break the light barrier, the first step toward the stars. Instead, it felt like they were being torn apart. Then everything went silent. The shaking stopped. The alarm stopped. Even the normal hum of the ship's engine seemed muted. For 3 long seconds, nobody moved. Status report, Maria said quietly. Her heart was pounding, but her voice stayed calm. That was what captains did. We're alive, someone said from the back of the room. More than that, Park said, staring at his screen with wide eyes. We jumped. We actually jumped faster than light. A cheer started to rise from the crew, but Park held up his hand. The celebration died in their throats when they saw his face. He looked terrified. What is it? Maria asked. We were supposed to jump 5 light years. To the Alpha Centauri test beacon. Park's voice was barely a whisper. Captain, according to these readings, we jumped over 3,000 light years. We overshot by 3,000 light years. The control room went silent again. 3,000 light years meant they were nowhere near home. Nowhere near any human territory. They were lost in a part of the galaxy no human had ever seen. Where are we exactly? Maria asked. Lieutenant Jessica Wong at the sensor station gasped. Captain, you need to see this. Maria moved to Wong's station and looked at the sensor display. Then she understood why Wong sounded so shocked. The screen showed dozens of contacts. No, not dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands. Those are ships, Wong said. Massive ships. And structures. Space stations the size of moons. Captain, there's a whole civilization out here. Maria stared at the screen. Every contact represented something built by someone. Something alien. They had stumbled into someone else's territory. Someone who had built an empire among the stars while humanity was still learning to split atoms. Go dark, Maria ordered. Right now. Cut all active sensors. Kill all broadcasts. Make us invisible, Captain. Wong looked confused. Do it now. Maria's voice was sharp. Whatever is out there, they're so far ahead of us we can't even imagine it. We don't make first contact by accident. We don't announce ourselves when we don't know who we're talking to. The crew moved quickly. Every system that sent out signals was shut down. The Odyssey's Gambit became as quiet as a ghost. Only passive sensors remained active, listening but not speaking. Make us look like debris, Maria continued. Kill the main engines. Use thrusters only if absolutely necessary. If anyone looks at us, I want them to see a dead rock, not a ship. You want us to hide? Commander James Mitchell asked. He was the military observer assigned to the mission. From a first contact situation? I want us to survive, Maria said firmly. Look at those readings, Commander. We're one small ship in the middle of what looks like a major trade route. If we announce ourselves now, we do it from a position of complete weakness. We don't know their language, their culture, their intentions, or their capabilities. The only advantage we have right now is that they don't know we exist. Mitchell looked at the sensor display again. He saw what Maria saw. Hundreds of ships moving with purpose and coordination, structures that would take centuries for humanity to build. A civilization that made Earth look like a child's toy. What do you propose? He asked. We watch, Maria said. We listen, we learn. We record everything. And we stay completely silent until we understand what we're dealing with. For how long? As long as it takes. Over the next few hours, the crew of the Odyssey's Gambit watched in silence as ships passed by. Some were small, barely larger than their own vessel. Others were massive, stretching for kilometers. They moved in organized patterns, following lanes like cars on a highway. This was not a new civilization. This was something ancient and established. Dr. James Chen, the xenolinguist, set up recording equipment to capture every communication signal. Their transmissions are constant, he said with excitement in his voice. It's like listening to a whole world talking at once. If I can crack their language, we'll understand everything. Do it quietly, Maria reminded him. 3 days after their arrival, something huge appeared on their sensors, a ship larger than anything they had seen before. It was easily 20 times the size of an aircraft carrier. Weapons bristled along its hull. This was a warship, a patrol vessel. The crew held their breath as it passed within 50 kilometers of their position. Its sensors swept across space, touching the Odyssey's gambit like searchlights. Maria watched the screen, waiting for the ship to turn toward them, waiting for weapons to power up, waiting for the end, but nothing happened. The patrol ship continued on its route without slowing down. Its sensors had touched them and dismissed them as nothing important. Just another piece of space debris. Not worth a second look. When it was gone, Maria allowed herself to breathe again. They didn't see us, Wong said with relief. No, Maria corrected her. They saw us. They just didn't care. To them, we're not even worth noticing. She looked around at her crew, 200 people who thought they were making history. Instead, they had discovered they were insignificant. Humanity had finally met the galactic community, and the galactic community had looked right through them. Good, Maria said softly. Let's keep it that way. 6 months had passed since the Odyssey's gambit became a ghost. 6 months of watching, listening, and learning. The crew had become experts at being invisible. They drifted through space like a dead hulk, stealing power from solar winds and recycling everything down to the last molecule of water. Dr. James Chen had not slept properly in weeks. He sat in front of his screen, surrounded by recordings of alien transmissions. His eyes were red but excited. Finally, after months of work, he understood their language. I've got it, he announced to the senior staff meeting. I can read their language. I can understand their broadcasts. And you're not going to believe what I've learned. Captain Maria Santos leaned forward. Tell us everything. They call themselves the Calthresh Empire, Chen began. They're old. Really old. The Empire has existed for over 50,000 years. They control 40,000 worlds across this part of the galaxy. Commander Mitchell whistled low. 50,000 years? Humanity was living in caves 50,000 years ago. Exactly, Chen said. And that's the problem. The Empire has a classification system for every species. When they meet someone new, they evaluate their technology level. That evaluation is permanent. Forever. What do you mean, forever? Maria asked. Chen pulled up a document on the main screen. It was written in the flowing alien script that he had learned to read. Species are ranked from Category 1 to Category 10. Category 1 species are the founders, the oldest members who joined the Empire with advanced technology. They run everything. Category 10 species are primitives who haven't even discovered space travel yet. They're basically pets or curiosities. Where would we rank? Wong asked quietly. Category 7, Chen said. Pre-interstellar primitives. Species that have space travel within their own solar system, but no faster-than-light capability. If we had made contact when we first arrived, that's how they would have classified us. And that classification would never change. What does that mean practically? Maria asked. Chen's face darkened. I've been watching their news broadcasts, reading their social feeds. Category 7 species have limited rights in the Empire. They can't own property on high-value worlds. They can't hold government positions above a certain level. Their testimony in legal matters is worth less than higher categories. They're not slaves, but they're not equals either. They're permanent second-class citizens. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. They had imagined first contact many ways. Friendship, conflict, trade, cultural exchange. But nobody had imagined this. A galactic empire that would judge humanity once and never change that judgment. It gets worse, Chen continued. I've been monitoring historical records. 300 years ago, a species called the Vorn made contact with the Empire. They were classified as Category 7. In those 300 years, they've developed incredible technology. They've created medical advances, agricultural systems, and engineering breakthroughs that even the founding species use. But they're still Category 7. The Empire takes their inventions but doesn't change their status. The system is completely rigid. Why don't they rebel? Mitchell asked. Some do, Chen said grimly. He played a news recording. Even though the others couldn't understand the alien language, they could see the images. Ships exploding, worlds under bombardment, cities burning. 2 months ago, there was an uprising on the periphery, Chen explained. 6 category. 6 and 7 species tried to declare independence. The Empire sent their military. The rebellion lasted 4 days. Casualties were estimated at 3 million. The Empire's response was labeled as minimal force necessary to restore order. Maria felt sick. They killed 3 million people in 4 days and called it minimal. The Empire hasn't fought a real war in 10,000 years, Chen said. They don't need to. Everyone knows they'll win. The system stays in place because nobody believes it can be changed. For a long moment, nobody spoke. They were thinking about what would have happened if Captain Santos hadn't ordered them to go dark. If they had announced themselves immediately, humanity would have been classified as primitives, forever. We made the right call, Mitchell finally said. If we had revealed ourselves, Earth would already be locked into their system. But we can't hide forever, Wong said. Eventually, we need to go home. Eventually, Earth will develop FTL drives on their own. What happens then? That's why we keep watching, Maria said. We learn everything we can. We send reports back to Earth. We make sure that when humanity does make contact, we do it on our terms, not theirs. Over the next weeks, the crew of the Odyssey's Gambit continued their silent study. They had positioned themselves near a major university world, intercepting academic broadcasts and cultural programs. They learned about the Empire's history, its politics, its economy, and its military. The picture that emerged was troubling. The Empire was powerful, yes, but it was also stagnant. The same families had controlled the government for thousands of years. Innovation was discouraged because it disrupted the social order. The military was huge but untested, more ceremonial than functional. The economy ran on ancient systems that nobody dared to change. They're complacent, Chen observed during one briefing. They've been on top for so long that they can't imagine anything challenging them. They're not cruel, they're just utterly convinced of their own superiority. That's their weakness, Mitchell said thoughtfully. They don't innovate because they don't think they need to. Maria nodded slowly. A plan was forming in her mind. A long, patient plan. We need to send all this information back to Earth. Everything we've learned. The language, the culture, the technology, the social structure, all of it. How? Park asked. Any transmission strong enough to reach Earth will light us up like a flare. Quantum burst, Maria said. 1 second of transmission. Compressed data. We send it toward empty space and let it travel. Even if they detect it, we'll look like a random fluctuation. That's risky, Mitchell warned. Everything is risky, Maria replied. But Earth needs to know what we've learned. They need to prepare, because someday, somehow, humanity is going to meet this empire. And when we do, we need to be ready. The transmission was sent 3 days later. 1 second of compressed data containing 6 months of observations. Everything humanity needed to know about the Calthresh Empire. It would take years to reach Earth, but it would arrive. As the crew returned to their watch, Chen noticed something in the news feeds. Another rebellion was brewing. Small species on the edges of the Empire, tired of their permanent inferior status, were making plans. The Empire wasn't worried. They never were. But Chen was beginning to see a pattern. The Empire controlled through inevitability, not strength. They won because everyone believed they would win. He wondered what would happen if someone stopped believing. 2 years after the Odyssey's Gambit disappeared, Earth had changed completely. Admiral Elizabeth Okonkwo stood in the command center deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean and watched the world transform itself. Every screen showed a different project, a different breakthrough, a different step toward a future nobody had imagined. The quantum burst transmission from Captain Santos had arrived 1 year ago. At first, governments had argued about what to do with the information. Some wanted to hide it. Some wanted to immediately build weapons. Some wanted to try peaceful contact. The debates had lasted 3 months. Then someone asked a simple question during a United Nations emergency session. Do we want our children classified as primitives forever? That ended the debate. Every nation agreed to the silence protocol. Humanity would develop in secret. They would learn everything about the Empire before the Empire learned anything about humanity. And when contact finally happened, it would be on human terms. Status report, Okonkwo said to her staff. Commander Sarah Williams pulled up the latest data. We've analyzed everything the Odyssey sent us. Our scientists have been working non-stop. We're not copying their technology. We're doing something better. Explain, Okonkwo ordered. The Empire's technology is old. Reliable, yes. Powerful, yes. But ancient. They've been using the same FTL drive design for 20,000 years because it works, and nobody wants to risk changing it. Our scientists looked at their design and asked, what if we did it differently? Williams pulled up a schematic. Our new FTL drive is smaller, faster, and more efficient. It uses quantum tunneling in ways they never considered. We didn't copy them. We leapfrogged them. Same with our computers, another scientist added. The Empire uses biological computing systems. Very stable but very slow to adapt. We're using adaptive AI that learns and improves. In some areas, we're already ahead of them. Okonkwo allowed herself a small smile. What about the ships? 47 completed so far, Williams said. Another 100 in construction. All equipped with stealth systems based on what the Odyssey learned. We can hide just like they did. And the plan? We send the ships out in waves. Each one goes to a different part of the Empire. They watch, they learn, they report back. In 5 years, we'll have eyes everywhere. We'll know the Empire better than they know themselves. It was an ambitious plan, a patient plan, the kind of plan that humanity had never attempted before. But the stakes were too high for anything else. Aboard the Odyssey's Gambit, now floating near a major trade hub, Captain Santos received the news of Earth's progress. The quantum burst transmissions from home were brief but encouraging. Humanity was preparing. The whole planet was working together in ways that had never happened before. We're not alone anymore, she told her crew. 50 more ships are on their way. Each one will take a position somewhere in the Empire. We're building a network of watchers, the crew cheered. 2 years of isolation had been hard. Knowing that others were joining them made the sacrifice feel worthwhile. Dr. Chen had continued his studies of the Empire. He had become fluent in not just the Calthresh language, but in 6 other species' languages as well. He understood their literature, their humor, their fears, and their dreams. He understood them better than most Empire citizens understood each other. I've noticed something, he said during a briefing. The Empire is held together by belief. Everyone believes it's too big to fail, too powerful to challenge, too old to change. But it's not actually that strong. Their military hasn't fought a real war in 10,000 years. Most of their soldiers are there for the salary and the status, not because they're warriors. You're saying they're weak? Mitchell asked. I'm saying they're untested, Chen clarified. There's a difference. They have huge ships and powerful weapons, but they've never faced an enemy who fought back effectively. Every rebellion they've crushed was disorganized and poorly equipped. They've never fought someone who was prepared. Are we suggesting we fight them? Santos asked carefully. No, Chen said. I'm suggesting we don't have to. The Empire's real power is psychological. They win because everyone expects them to win. If we can break that expectation, the whole system might crack. Commander Mitchell had been studying the Empire's military tactics for 2 years. He had watched training exercises, analyzed combat doctrines, and evaluated their strategic thinking. His conclusion was troubling in a completely different way. They fight like they're conducting a performance, he reported. Beautiful formations, perfect timing, overwhelming displays of force. It's designed to intimidate, not to actually fight. Against rebels with crude weapons, it works perfectly. Against an organized opponent, he shrugged. I honestly don't know if they'd know what to do. As months turned into years, more human ships arrived in the Empire. Each one found a hidden position and began their watch. Some positioned themselves near military bases. Others watched economic centers or political capitals. A few studied the periphery worlds, the lower category species who lived under the Empire's condescension. The reports flowed back to Earth in encrypted quantum bursts. Humanity assembled the most detailed intelligence network the galaxy had ever seen. They knew shipping routes, military patrol patterns, economic dependencies, and political factions. They knew which officials were corrupt, which generals were incompetent, and which species were unhappy with their status. We're ready, Admiral Okonkwo told the United Nations Security Council 5 years after the Odyssey first jumped. Our technology matches or exceeds theirs in key areas. We have ships positioned throughout the Empire. We understand their culture, their language, their systems. It's time to make our choice. What choice? The Secretary General asked. Do we make contact or do we stay hidden forever? Okonkwo said. If we make contact now, we do it as equals. Our ships are as good as theirs. Our technology is comparable. We can negotiate from strength. But if we wait too long, they might discover us by accident. We'll lose the advantage of controlling our first impression. The debate was intense. Some argued for more time. Others argued that 5 years of preparation was enough. Finally, a decision was made. We make contact, the Secretary General announced. But not with the Empire, Okonkwo smiled. She had been hoping for exactly that answer. We contact the periphery species, the ones stuck in low categories. We offer them something the Empire never has. What's that? Someone asked. A choice, Okonkwo said, and the technology to make that choice matter. Captain Santos received the orders 3 days later. The silence protocol was ending. Humanity was about to step out of the shadows, but they wouldn't step out alone. She looked at her crew, the 200 people who had lived in hiding for 5 years. They had been patient. They had been careful. They had learned and waited while the rest of humanity caught up. Signal the other ships, she ordered. It's time to be seen. Grand Admiral Kethros of the Cal Thresh Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at Earth. It was a blue and green world, beautiful in its own primitive way. The planet of the humans who dared to challenge 10,000 years of galactic order. He had brought 500 warships to teach them the cost of defiance. All ships in position, his tactical officer reported. We have complete orbital superiority. They have maybe 50 ships defending the planet. We outnumber them 10 to 1. Open a channel, Kethros ordered. Let's end this quickly. The transmission went out. This is Grand Admiral Kethros of the Cal Thresh Imperial Fleet. You will power down your vessels and prepare to receive inspection teams. Your species will submit to proper evaluation and classification. This is not negotiable. You have 1 hour to comply. The response came from Admiral Elizabeth Okonkwo. Her face appeared on the main screen. She looked calm. Kethros had expected fear, but he saw only quiet confidence. Grand Admiral Kethros, welcome to our home. We appreciate you coming all this way. However, we must respectfully decline your demands. We will not submit to classification. Our ships will remain powered and operational, and we suggest you reconsider your position. Kethros felt anger rising. You're outnumbered 10 to 1. Your technology is inferior. You have no allies, no support, and no chance of victory. I am offering you one opportunity to avoid destruction. Our technology is not inferior, Okonkwo replied, and we have more allies than you realize. But let me ask you something, Grand Admiral. We've been watching your empire for 5 years. We've studied your tactics, your strategies, your military doctrine. We know your formations, your response times, and your capabilities. How much do you know about us? The question caught Kethros off guard. We know you're primitives who stumbled into our territory. We know you have some stealth technology, but nothing that can stand against the Grand Fleet. You know what we've let you see, Okonkwo said. Think about that. We hid in your space for 5 years. 200 ships completely undetected. If we could do that, what else can we do? It was a bluff, but it wasn't entirely a bluff. Kethros felt the first tremor of doubt. The humans had somehow developed stealth systems that evaded Imperial sensors. What else had they developed in secret? You're bluffing, he said, but his voice lacked certainty. Perhaps, Okonkwo agreed. Perhaps not. But ask yourself this. If we were primitives, why would we reveal ourselves at all? We could have stayed hidden forever. We chose to come out now because we're ready. We're ready to exist in this galaxy as equals. The question is, are you ready to fight a war to prevent that? We've crushed rebellions before, Kethros said. Rebellions, Okonkwo emphasized. Disorganized uprisings by species you've kept deliberately weak. We're not a rebellion. We're a peer competitor, and we're not alone. On cue, new contacts appeared on sensors across the Empire. Not just human ships, but Vorn ships, Helk ships. Vessels from 47 different periphery species. All equipped with human technology. All broadcasting the same message. We are the coalition of free worlds. We reject the category system. We claim the right to self-determination. We will defend ourselves and each other. Kethros watched his tactical display light up with hundreds of new contacts. His advantage had just evaporated. 47 species rising up simultaneously, all equipped with advanced technology. This wasn't a rebellion. This was a revolution. This is your doing, he said to Okonkwo. We offered friendship and technology, she replied. They chose to accept. That's called free will, Grand Admiral, something the Empire hasn't respected in a very long time. On the Cal Thresh homeworld, the High Council watched in growing horror as reports flooded in. Uprisings on periphery worlds. Not violent uprisings, but declarations of independence. Species they had controlled for centuries were simply saying no, and they had the technology to back it up. We're facing 1,000 fronts, the military advisor said. If we commit to fighting all of them, it will take decades and cost millions of lives. Maybe billions. Then we hit them hard right now, Council Leader Thesh said. We make an example of the humans. We show everyone what happens when you defy the Empire. And if we lose? Someone asked quietly. The room went silent. The Empire had not lost a military engagement in 10,000 years. Losing was not something they knew how to process. "We won't lose," Thesh said, but even he heard the uncertainty in his voice. Back at Earth, Grand Admiral Kethros made his decision. "Power up weapons. Target their defensive platforms. Prepare to fire." Okonkwo watched the energy readings spike across the Imperial fleet. They were going to attack. Part of her had hoped it wouldn't come to this, but humanity had prepared for every possibility. "Defensive screens to maximum," she ordered. All ships moved to intercept positions. "Do not fire first, but be ready." The human ships moved with a precision that startled Kethros. They flowed like water, each ship perfectly coordinated with the others. Their formations were nothing like the rigid patterns the Empire used. They were adaptive, flowing, impossible to predict. "Their response time is too fast," his tactical officer said. "They're reacting before our orders are complete." "How are they doing that?" "Adaptive AI," Okonkwo said over the open channel. "Our computers learn and predict in real time. Your ships are beautiful, Grand Admiral, but they move like they're conducting a dance. Ours move like they're fighting a war." Kethros realized he was facing something he had never encountered before. An opponent who had studied him while remaining unknown. An opponent who had used that knowledge to build systems specifically designed to counter his strengths. "You've been preparing for this exact moment," he said. "For 5 years," Okonkwo confirmed. "We watched every military exercise you conducted. We analyzed every tactical doctrine you used. We designed our systems to fight you specifically, not because we wanted war, but because we wanted to make sure you understood the cost of forcing one." "This is blackmail," Kethros said. "This is deterrence," Okonkwo corrected. "We're not threatening you. We're simply existing in a way that makes attacking us too expensive. You can destroy us, probably. Your fleet is massive. But how many ships will you lose? How many crews? And while you're fighting us, what happens to the rest of the Empire? How many other species declare independence while your fleet is occupied here?" The logic was inescapable. Kethros could win this battle, but he might lose the Empire in the process. And there was no guarantee he would even win the battle. The humans were too prepared, too coordinated, too focused. "Stand down," he ordered his fleet. His officers looked at him in shock. "Grand Admiral?" "Stand down," he repeated. "Power down weapons. We're not here to start a war we can't predict." He looked at Okonkwo's image on the screen. "What do you want?" "A seat at the table," Okonkwo said simply. "Recognition as equals. The end of the category system, or at least the right to opt out of it. Species should be judged by who they are, not by when they arrived. That's all we've ever wanted." "The Council will never agree," Kethros said. "Then the coalition will grow," Okonkwo replied. "More species will join us. Eventually the Empire will be forced to change or collapse. We're offering you a chance to change voluntarily, to evolve, to become something better than what you are." Over the following weeks, negotiations began, not between humanity and the Empire, but between the coalition and the Empire. 50 species sitting together as equals, discussing the future of the galaxy. The Empire fractured. Some counselors wanted to fight to restore the old order by force. Others saw the writing on the wall. The system that had lasted 50,000 years was crumbling because someone had finally said no and made it stick. In the end, compromise won. The category system wasn't abolished, but species were given the right to opt out. The coalition of free worlds was officially recognized. New rules were established for interaction between coalition and empire. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close to perfect. But it was change. Real change after millennia of stagnation. Captain Maria Santos stood on Earth for the first time in 7 years. She looked up at the sky where human and alien ships flew side by side. The galaxy had changed because humanity had done the hardest thing possible. They had waited. They had watched. They had learned. And when the moment came, they had acted from a position of knowledge and strength rather than ignorance and weakness. Was it worth it? Commander Mitchell asked, standing beside her. 7 years of hiding? Look at the sky, Santos said. We're not classified. We're not categorized. We're not locked into a system that would have defined us forever. Yes, it was worth it. What do we do now? He asked. Santos smiled. Now we keep watching. Keep learning. The galaxy is bigger than the Empire. There's so much more out there to discover. But this time we explore as equals. Not as primitives begging for acceptance, but as humans who earned their place. She looked at the stars and felt hope. Humanity hadn't won by being the strongest or the loudest. They had won by being the most patient. By understanding that sometimes the greatest power is knowing when to wait, when to watch, and when to act. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity had planned. The Odyssey's gambit powered up for the first time in 5 years. Captain Maria Santos felt the engines hum beneath her feet and smiled. It felt good to stop hiding. Around the ship, sensor screens that had been dark suddenly blazed with light. Active scanners swept across space. For anyone watching, a ghost had just come to life. All systems green, Dr. Park reported. We're running at full power. Communications ready, Chen said. I've prepared the message in 17 languages. Not yet, Santos said. She looked at the main screen showing the location of all 200 human ships scattered across the Empire. Each one had been silent and hidden for years. Each one was now powering up simultaneously. We don't call the Empire first. We call our friends. The transmission went out on channels that the Empire didn't monitor, frequencies used by the periphery species, the lower categories. The message was simple and translated into dozens of languages. This is Captain Maria Santos of the human vessel Odyssey's Gambit. We are a new species. We have been watching the Calthresh Empire for 5 years. We have learned your languages and your histories. We know about the category system. We know how you've been treated. We come to you first, not to the Empire, because we believe you deserve to be seen as equals. We offer our friendship and our technology freely, with no strings attached. The Empire classifies species by when they arrived and what they brought. We choose to classify species by who they are now. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of transmissions flooded back from periphery worlds. Shock, disbelief, hope, suspicion, every emotion humanity had expected and many they hadn't. A response came from a Vorn world within hours. The Vorn classified as Category 7 for 300 years despite their innovations. Why contact us? Why not make a deal with the Empire directly? They have power. We have nothing to offer you, Santos smiled. Chen had predicted this exact response. You have everything to offer, she sent back. You have the experience of living in this galaxy. You understand things we don't. And you deserve to choose your own future. We're offering you FTL drive technology, medical advances, and defensive systems. No payment required. No strings attached. What you do with them is your choice. Another message came from a species called the Helk, Category 6. This is a trick. The Empire sent you to test our loyalty. If the Empire sent us, why would we hide for 5 years? Santos replied. Why would we give you technology instead of demanding tribute? Watch your sensors. We're decloaking 200 ships across the entire Empire right now. This is not a test. This is a choice, and across the Empire, human ships decloaked. Some appeared near periphery worlds. Others materialized in empty space between systems. A few appeared in busy trade lanes impossible to miss. Every ship broadcast the same message on every frequency. We are humanity. We have been watching. We have been learning. We come as equals, not subjects. The Calthresh Empire does not speak for us. We choose our own path. On the Calthresh homeworld, alarms screamed. Unknown ships had appeared everywhere. 200 of them, all broadcasting messages that challenged the fundamental order of the Empire. Emergency meetings were called. The High Council convened within the hour. What are they? Demanded Council Leader Thesh. Where did they come from? Unknown, Counselor, the military advisor reported. Their technology profile doesn't match any known species. Their ships are sophisticated. Stealth systems we couldn't penetrate. FTL drives that are actually more efficient than ours. How is that possible? What category are they? That's the problem, Counselor. They've never been evaluated. They should be primitives based on the fact that we've never encountered them before. But their technology suggests they're at least Category 3, possibly higher. Thesh felt a cold fear. The system was clear. New species were primitives. That was how it worked. That was how it had always worked. Classify them as Category 7, standard protocol for pre-evaluated species. Counselor, the military advisor said carefully. They're already communicating with periphery worlds. They're sharing technology, advanced technology. If we classify them as Category 7, we'll be saying that primitives have better technology than we do. The logic was inescapable and terrifying. The classification system only worked if higher categories were actually superior. If a Category 7 species had technology equal to the founding species, The whole system became meaningless. Then classify them as Category 3, Thesh decided. High enough to respect their technology, low enough to maintain proper order. They've already rejected classification, Counselor. Their broadcasts say they don't recognize our authority to classify them. They're claiming to be equals. No one is equal to the founding species, Thesh roared. Send them a message. Demand they present themselves for proper evaluation. Explain that this is how the galaxy works. The message was sent to the Odyssey's gambit. It was formal, bureaucratic, and absolute. All species in Empire space must submit to evaluation and classification. Failure to comply would be considered a hostile act. Captain Santos read the message and laughed. It was exactly what Chen had predicted they would say. The Empire couldn't imagine any other response. She composed her reply carefully. To the Cal Thresh High Council. We acknowledge your message. We decline your offer. We are not in Empire space by choice. We arrived by accident. We stayed to learn. Now we choose to interact with this galaxy on our own terms. You may classify us however you wish in your internal records. We will not participate in the classification process, nor will we accept its validity. We are already here. We are already established. We have already made friends. You have 3 options. Accept us as equals and negotiate. Attempt to force us into your system and fail, or ignore us and watch as the galaxy changes anyway. We recommend the first option, but the choice is yours. The message was sent on every frequency, public and private. Every species in the Empire could read it. It was not a secret diplomatic communication. It was a public challenge to the system itself. On periphery worlds, celebrations began. The impossible had happened. Someone had said no to the Empire. Someone had refused to be categorized, and they were offering technology freely, treating lower category species as equals. The Vorn were the first to accept. We will take your offer, their ambassador transmitted. We will take your technology and your friendship, and we will remember that you saw us as equals. Within days, 47 periphery species had accepted humanity's offer. Human ships met with their representatives in neutral space. Data was exchanged. Technology was shared. Defensive systems were installed on vulnerable worlds. And across the Empire, the impossible happened. Lower category species began to feel hope. The Empire dispatched the Grand Fleet. 500 warships, the largest military force assembled in 1,000 years. They were sent to Earth, to humanity's homeworld. The message was clear. Submit or be destroyed. Admiral Okonkwo watched them come on long-range sensors. 500 massive warships, each one a masterpiece of engineering and intimidation. They were beautiful and terrifying. They're trying to scare us, she said calmly. Is it working? Someone asked nervously. It would work on anyone who didn't know what we know, Okonkwo replied. But we've watched them for 5 years. We know their formations are designed for show, not efficiency. We know their weapons are powerful but predictable. We know their commanders have never fought a real battle. They're coming here expecting us to surrender at the sight of them. What if they actually attack? Commander Williams asked. Then we show them what humanity learned while we were watching, Okonkwo said. But I don't think it will come to that. They're not here to fight. They're here to intimidate, so we don't get intimidated. The Grand Fleet arrived at Earth 3 weeks later. They took up positions around the solar system in a perfect formation, designed to showcase their power. It was beautiful and overwhelming. Exactly as intended, Admiral Okonkwo opened a channel. Welcome to the Sol system. We've been expecting you.